Right, so welcome everyone to the first lecture of Eco 201. Hopefully you have all looked at the small welcome video, and so you guys have some idea about what this course is about and how it will be structured and how we will be approaching this course this semester. So I'm not really going to go into all of that again. I'm going to jump straight into the material, and we are going to start with chapter 4. So chapter 4 and chapter 5 deals with matrix analysis. So some of you probably or maybe already know what a matrix is. Some of you don't. So we're going to start with some very basic stuff about what a matrix is and why we need it and how to use it and all of that. So that is going to be chapter 4 and 5, which we will try to finish in 2 weeks' time. So our goal is to finish chapter 4 in 1 week, which is lecture 1 and lecture 2. And then we will try to finish chapter 5 in lecture 3 and lecture 4. And that won't be too much pressure. The textbook that we are going to follow, that we always follow for this course, is called Fundamentals of Mathematical Economics by Chiang and Wainwright. This isn't just a book that we follow, this is internationally followed. So it is a very good book. I still have my book that I bought all the way back in 2008, and I still find it useful, not just for teaching you guys, but my other endeavors. So, well, I mean, under these circumstances, I'm obviously not going to encourage you all to go out and buy the book. I have provided a PDF version for you all to use, but whenever possible, whenever it's safe for you to go out, do try to get a hard copy of this book and hang on to it. Because if not in later life, you will definitely need to refer to this book many times during your university days. So, okay, so let's dive straight into it. And so today in our lecture 1, what we are going to do is talk a bit about system of equations. All of you know what that is and how to solve system of equations. We'll do a very quick review of that. Then I'm going to introduce matrices to you guys, and we're going to look at some very basic matrix operations and how matrices work. And then in the next lecture, I'm going to introduce different types of matrices to you guys. So, well, I mean, there are a lot of different types of matrices. I'm going to introduce 3 or 4 common types that you will often come across. And then we're going to see how to calculate the transpose and inverse of matrix. If that sounds like a lot, it's not really. So let's get started. Let's start with system of equations. And let me first write down this. So 2x plus 3y equals to, let's say, 8, and 7x minus y equals to 5. So suppose I write down this system of equation, and I ask you guys to give me the value of x and the value of y. Now, I'm going to solve this right now, obviously, don't worry, but what I am going to encourage you all is, I'm sure all of you know how to find the values of x and y. So pause this video right now and try to solve this and try to find the value of x and y. And once you've done that, you can start the video again and see how I solve it. Okay, so here's how I would solve it. And remember that I can think of 3 different ways of solving this system of equation. So I'm not going to be particular about which way you use to solve this system of equations. It's really up to you. I'm going to show you the method that I find easiest, and it's really up to you guys whether you want to use my method or some other methods. That's okay. So the method that I use under that, what I'm going to need is, I'm going to need either these 2 values to be equal or these 2 values to be equal. So what I will do is, okay, so let's call this equation 1 and let's call this equation 2. I'm going to multiply equation 2 with 3. And if I do that, what I get is 21x minus 3y equals to 15. And let's call this equation 3. And if I plug equation down here, I have 21x plus 3y equals to 8. This is still equation 1. And now, if I add this to plus 3y minus 3y, that cancels out. And what I get is 23x equals to 23. As a result, I know x is equal to 1. Once I know that the value of x is equal to 1, I have this. I'm going to take this value and I'm going to plug it into either this equation or this equation. So suppose I pick equation 2. So in equation 2, if I plug in the value of x, which is 1, minus y equals to 5. So just by reorganizing this, y equals to 7 minus 5 equals to 2. So therefore, y equals to 2. And there you have it. We have found the value of x and y, which is 1 and 2. So this was pretty simple. Hopefully all of you can solve this. If you cannot solve this, that's troublesome. And what I will encourage you is to go back to whatever maths book you may have used in your school. Please go through this, because I'm not going to teach you how to solve system of equations in Eco 201, but you are going to need to know how to solve it. So it's up to you to figure that out. Okay, so let me write this equation down again. So we have 2x plus 3y, which is 8, and 7x minus y equals to, what was it, 5? It was 5, yeah. Okay, so the thing to notice about this equation is whenever you're trying to solve a system of equation, you need to always ask these two things. What is the number of equations and what is the number of variables? Okay, so number of equations in this case is 2. Straightforward. Number of variables, we have x and we have y, so 2. So what we say is that this is a 2 by 2 matrix. And it is whenever we have the number of equations which is less than equal to the number of variables, we can solve this equation. Or I'm sorry, I said it the other way around. What we need is the number of equations to be equal to or more than the number of variables. So if we had, let's say, 3 equations, 2 variables, that is fine. We can still solve this system of equations. But if we had 2 equations, but 3 variables, so suppose we had x, y, and z, we can no longer solve the system of equations. So for example, let me write this down. So we have 2x plus 3y, we have 7x minus y. But suppose we also have a plus z here, plus 2z here. And this gives us, well, let me just give the same values we have, 8 and 5. So what do we have here? We have 1 equation, 2 equation. But variables, we have 3 variables. We have x, y, and z. We cannot solve the system of equations. We do not have enough information to find the values of x, y, and z. However, if we had a third equation, it can be anything really. So 11x minus 3y plus 4z equals to some value. I don't know what the value would be. If we had that, now we can solve this once again because the number of equations and the number of variables match. So you all know how to solve system of equation. That's straightforward. But this is something some of you may not have known, is that whenever we're trying to solve a system of equation, whether or not we can solve that system of equation depends on the number of equations and the number of variables. And we always want the number of equations to be more than or equal to the number of variables. All right, okay. So that was our introduction to system of equations and how to solve them. So that is done. So number two, what we're going to do is introduction to matrices. Okay. So let's start with the basic question. What is a matrix?